Welcome to my tutorial of EDS Mario version 0.34. And this is a hack. There's actually a few versions of this hack, and I was unable to find any footage anywhere of this hack, so everything I discovered was pretty much just what I found in my attempt to just merely beat the hack. I was just trying to complete it. I found two warps as I was playing, so I'm going to show those. And I used the warps because my only goal was just to beat the game, so that's what I'm going to demonstrate here. Now, when I say beat the game, it may be a little bit of a gray area because with this game, it glitches out at 7.4. So, it could be that maybe there's a warp to warp farther than 7.4 that I missed. Or maybe the emulator has a problem at that point in the game, but it ran fine up until that point. So I assume that this hack version is an unfinished version of the hack. Hacks can be really unreliable. So I considered the game completed and beaten at that point since there wasn't anything else I could do. I tried getting back to 7.4 again a second time just to make sure, and it was still glitched. But I'm going to show that. I'm going to show returning to 7.4 and how it's still glitched. I'll show that briefly at the end of the video. But overall, this was actually a really good hack. I mean, the stage layouts and everything are very well designed, and it's definitely a cool hack. You'll notice, right away that it's definitely a little bit harder than, the original Super Mario Brothers game. Though it's quite a ways off from Lost Levels, which is another Mario game that I'm working on. It's the Super Mario Brothers 2 for Famicom, the Japanese Super Mario Brothers 2, which was a much harder version of Super Mario Brothers 1 that we had in the U.S. Much fucking harder. And, this is somewhere in between, and it's closer to difficulty to the first game, but it's a decent upgrade in difficulty to the first game. So but it's not one of those extreme hacks where it's extremely difficult. So it's very approachable. If you've beaten the first game, this is a nice little level up to that without, getting crazy with the difficulty. So this is a good hack to play overall, aside from the fact that it's probably going to glitch out on 7.4. But if you're able to get past that, let me know if you know anything I don't, and I'll return to it. So in this, you play as the ghost, and when you get your mushroom, you turn into the bullet bill. And of course, if you get a fire flower, you get fireballs with the bullet bill. Now, he is missing legs, so because these characters float, it might make it a little tricky to sometimes see your orientation, when you would duck, basically. When you duck, it will lower down and get rid of the gap where your legs are supposed to be. But it can be a little disorientating. Another weird thing that I found was it seems like you cannot bounce jump in this game. Like, normally you would do a high bounce off an enemy, like holding down the jump button. That seems to be completely removed in this game. So that did make some parts harder for me, unless I was missing something. But when I tried to do it, it seemed like I was unable to do it. So the first warp is here, and this is familiar to, the first Super Mario Brothers, where the warp would be in a similar location. So this is where the first warp is, and this will take you to World 4-1. You can also get infinite continues. When you die, just hold down A and just mash the start button. And if you do that every time you lose all your lives, you will continue from the beginning of the last world you got to. So if you make it to 4-4 and die, lose all your lives, you'll go back to 4-1. It is in the manual of the original game, the continue code. So I considered it legit since this is a hack of the original game. And when there's a code that's in the manual of the game, I don't consider that a cheat code. But yeah, nothing too difficult as of yet. You want to try to avoid the Lakitu at the top. But basically just try to keep moving. This game can be pretty good about giving you power-ups. There's no poison mushrooms or anything like Lost Levels. So it's pretty good about that. You can pick up a decent amount of power-ups. The difficulty doesn't really spike until you get to the next stage. There's going to be a warp in this world that will take you to 5-1. So you'll see that in a moment. And this took me around 2 hours and 17 minutes to beat. So it wasn't too bad. I wanted to find the version that ended after World 4 just for a quick kill, but I'm not sure if I have it. I have two other versions of this EDS hack, so maybe I'll try them and see if one of them is that version. But from the video I saw, the title screen on the ones that I have looks different than the one that ended at the end of the fourth world. So I'm not sure if I have it. You can get a fire flower here, I think, if you already have the mushroom. I think I already had a fire flower. Strangely, though, if you do have a fire flower and you get hit, you become small immediately. Maybe the first game was like that. I'm a little hazy on that. But I think in Mario 3, you can take 2 hits before you get small if you're powered up. But maybe the first game wasn't like that. Like I said, I haven't played the first game in a while. So here you can warp to World 5. And this was the last warp that I found, I believe. So there may be more, but I didn't discover any. And there was no video footage of this. I believe this is the only playthrough of this version of the game online. Or at least on YouTube. I couldn't find any. So there's a star here. And this is the part where the difficulty spikes up quite a bit. This was the hardest stage for me out of all the stages. Not this particular stage, but this world, World 5. I found this one to be the most difficult. Though Stage 7 did have some swimming bullshit. But aside from that, I found this to be the one that took me the longest. I think this world took me over an hour. A little bit over an hour, maybe. So it was pretty tough. Whenever you have springs in these Super Mario Brothers games, they can be really inconsistent. At least for me. Sometimes he does a short jump instead of a long one, but the idea is to be holding the jump button before you land on the spring, and that usually propels you up. Now, there is a mushroom before that first Hammer Brother. Get that mushroom so that you can tank the hit and survive, because it's really fucking hard to get past that first Hammer Brother on the stairs without getting hit. So I always just take the hit, and I just get a mushroom so I can take the extra hit. See, there's another mushroom here. You want to run under the Hammer Brothers, by the way, in the last area. Try to run under them when you have a clearance. Don't do it when they're on the ground, obviously, but wait for one of them to go up and then run under. So now you can get your fire flower here, so now you're powered up again. And if you do that, it makes it a lot more manageable. Still a tough stage, but, manageable when you know where the power-ups are. And when you have a strategy, like I said, taking the hit from the first Hammer Brother instead of trying to dodge it. I mean, occasionally I did get through there without getting hit, but it was just it was totally random for me. So here we're going to have more platforms. And this is the main reason why this stage took me so long, was because of this level. Because I always have trouble with these fucking springs, especially in lost levels. That was a big problem. But this first one, you can ignore the first spring. Just jump on that moving platform. The second spring, you're going to have to bounce off of. So make sure you're holding jump before you land on the spring. And it's a pretty precise jump. So land on that spring and spring off. And all the way to the right. And now the rest isn't too bad. The main thing was just that one spring that you have to land on was giving me a lot of trouble. So, I recommend using save states whenever you get to, any sections or levels that you think might give you trouble. Practice them ahead of time with save states, and then you should be able to do a legit run. That's what I do when there's difficult parts like that. So this castle is quite easy. It's nothing special. Just watch out for these spinning things. Try to time it so that you can go under, through them all. But this is pretty standard shit. This would be easy for a castle in the Lost Levels game. So this one's really not bad. It's pretty short too. Just wait for those things to be out of your way. I think you can kill Bowser with a single fireball. If it's the same as the EDS hack, that's 4 worlds. I think in that version you can kill Bowser with a single fireball, but I don't think I tried it here. I think I just went for the jump because I had full. I was able to take an extra hit anyway, so I just ran through. I probably should have tried the fireball just for the fuck of it. So 6-1, this world didn't give me too much trouble. I beat this maybe in 15 minutes or something. It wasn't that bad for me, so I don't remember having a lot of trouble with it. Mainly when there's these lackitude things, you want to try to move fast, and it makes it pretty easy. I think there might be a power up here. Yeah, so you can get a fireball if you want, but I think I fucked it up. You can't jump on those bomb guys, which I tried to do. I shouldn't have done that. But if you can get it, you can get the fireball if you want it. But yeah, 6-1 is a pretty damn easy level. I think easier than anything that was in the 5th world. This stage is pretty damn easy, too. I mean, you got some piranha plants, but the best way, really, is to jump on the edges of the pipes and not to the center of the pipes, if you can do it. But other than that, a lot of times you can just jump over the pipe altogether. There is a mushroom in there, I believe, but you see I got hit by the beetle, so I didn't end up getting it. But this stage is actually quite easy. Just jump over most of the pipes, or jump to the edges of the pipes if you can. There's not much to this stage. It's pretty much like a break after the 5th world, which is a pretty tough world. But the 7th world will have some challenging parts in it. And of course, the biggest challenge would be the fact that at 7.4 it just completely glitches. So I don't think there's any way to go beyond that point. But yeah, as long as you don't try to rush through this stage too fast, it's very, very easy. The piranha plants, they can never come up if you're right on the pipe. So that always helps. I try to avoid the center of the pipe altogether, though, and play it safe. So this stage is actually a strange stage because there's a lot of platforming, and that's the part that can be a little bit challenging on this stage, but although there's a lot of platforms, there's almost no enemies on this stage, which is kind of strange. So, yeah, it's not the easiest stage, but, I mean, it's really not too bad if you're familiar with these platforms and, lost levels with the springs and platforms and shit. There's a few, parts where there's a spring and then there's a platform that you have to ride for a little while before you can move to the other side. You need it to be high enough so that you can get across, so that's all you have to do. You just ride it for a little bit. These will fall down, so you just want to move fast. But it's a pretty damn simple stage. You can still fuck it up, though, because the springs can be a pain in the ass. Whenever springs are involved, they don't seem to be the most consistent for me, so, you can fuck it up. And this castle stage is quite easy overall. It's nothing too difficult. Just wait for these things and move through when you have an opening. You do want to kind of jump in and out of them like you saw me doing. But other than that, pretty simple. I found it easier to go under Bowser this time. So now is the final world as far as I know. Unless, there's some information I don't have. If you know something I don't, then let me know. So 7-1 is quite easy. This world starts out pretty easy. I'm not saying it's super easy, because you can see I fucked up. It's not super easy by any means, but it's pretty easy. As long as you keep moving. I mean, there is a lot of these bullet bills. That's the one annoying thing about this stage. There's a lot of bullet bills that come out. But it's really not too bad. I think I'm missing some footage here, actually, because that seemed a lot shorter than it should have been. So I may have missed that in editing. There's actually a 1-up in that stage, though, over one of the pipes. So keep that in mind. I may not be able to show it in this tutorial because I didn't catch that in editing. That stage is not that short, so yeah, there's definitely some missing footage. So yeah, this part is actually really hard. You want to try to get in there fast if you can. But this part is really tough to not get hit. Depending on your luck, it may be easy to get through, but a lot of times it's better to have the mushroom for that part, which you would have gotten in the previous stage. Now, of course, I tried to get that question mark, and I got sucked in. There's like a suction at the bottom of those pits, so watch out for that. But you will start at this as a checkpoint. Also, in World 5, there's actually a checkpoint where you get totally fucked, which made World 5 even harder. If you miss one of the springs, I think in 5-2, you get into a checkpoint where you just keep falling into the pit again and again and lose all your lives. So that was really fucking annoying, and that made World 5 take longer. But it is a hack, so you do run into some issues. These parts are always tricky when you have these narrow things that you got to go up and down through. With all these bloopers, mainly, they do try to home in on you. Remember, if you're walking on the ground, they can't hit you, though. They can't go that low, so that's the only real good advice I have for them. I was also using turbo. I set my swim button to turbo so that I could swim even faster. That definitely helped. So if you're using a turbo controller or if you have the feature on the emulator, you may want to try that. It's not necessary, but it will speed up your swimming. So this stage is mostly about moving really quick. You want to try to move through as fast as possible. Because the more time you spend fucking around like I am here and slowing down, the harder it gets. But try to get this mushroom if you can, if you need it. Because having an extra hit will help a lot. Now the thing that sucks, like I said, is you can't do those super bounce jumps. So you got to actually make the jump without doing any super bounces. So that does make it harder. But there's another mushroom here at least. But the idea is to try to keep moving as fast as you can. But this area, it does get kind of dense, so it is hard to run super fast. I kind of did a mix of where I played it kind of slow but kind of fast at the same time. I try to inch my way, but I try to get some speed as well so I can make some of the jumps and shit. So that's the way that was easiest for me to do it. But see, now you'll see what happens when you get to 7-4. You get here, and it's like there's this impossible jump that I don't think there's any way to make. And I looked for invisible blocks as well and could not find any. And then the thing that really secured my belief that it's a glitch stage is that when I die, this is what happens. It completely freezes. So that kind of confirms that this stage seems unfinished. And I think this is probably the end of this hack. And I'll show it again in a moment where you see me going back for a second time, getting back here. And same thing happens again. So, at that point, I can't confirm anything any further than that the game is any longer. Unless there was a hidden warp I missed. But this is really unfinished at this point, And there's no videos of this that I could find online. So this is the only information I have. So I have to consider it completed. But if you have any questions, let me know. And thanks for watching. A little bonus footage here. I found the gameplay for Stage 7-1. So I decided to show it here at the end of the video so it doesn't mess up the commentary. By splicing it into the middle of the video would be a little awkward. But you will see where one of the hidden one-ups is, and you'll get to see the full level this time, so you can see how I dealt with the Hammer Brothers, which is the main thing on the stage. So there's a one-up right here, so be sure to get that. And for the Hammer Brothers, the main idea is to try to wait till the bottom area is clear and then run through. So that was pretty much my strat for these things. So as soon as it's clear, I run through. You may have to wait for one of them in front of you, but let it throw the hammers over you and then just wait for it to jump and, then just fucking haul ass. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.